Welcome, here I've got Xiaomi Redmi 9AT and I'm gonna show you how to use the camera pro mode at this device. So at first we have to tap on the camera button to open it, and for now we are in the standard photo mode. Let's change it by using this settings bar and just simply going to the left to Pro. So here we are. This mode gives us possibilities to choose some shooting parameters by ourselves. This is useful when we want to learn photographic skills or making experiments with photography. So let me start with this settings bar. Let's go from the right. The first one button here allows us to control the exposure compensation, so the light of our picture. By using this slider and going to the right, we can make our picture more bright, as you can see. By going to the left, we can make it more dark. At the center we have 0 parameter, so there's no problem to go back to auto exposure compensation. Now let's move to the second option on the settings bar, the ISO. Here we can control camera sensitivity to light, and by using this slider we can make it less sensitive from 100. By going to the right, more sensitive to 3 and 2000 of it. So I think this spectrum is pretty wide, like this kind of camera, and this is really pro here. And of course we can easily go back to auto ISO by tapping now on this A letter button from the left. Now let's move to the center, to the shutter speed option. So now we can manage the time of taking picture. We can make it shorter, and the shortest here is 1 and 1000 of second, and this should be definitely better to objects, for example, that are in move, to frozen them at the picture with a good light. By going to the right, we can make our time much longer. The longest here is 32 seconds, and this should be definitely better to objects that are stable. And of course, there's no problem to go back to auto shutter speed. We have to just simply tap on a letter button from the left. And here let's stay, because I want to show you one extra thing. When we adjust the shutter speed and the ISO together, we have some kind of light managing, so we don't need the exposure compensation option. And as you can see now, this option from the right is locked, because we can manage our light by using these two parameters correctly. But of course, when we want to use also the exposure compensation, one of these should be on auto settings, and now this is unlocked, so remember about that. And let's move to this button. With focusing, we are on autofocus. By using this slider we can change it to manual focus and use this as we need. We can of course go back to autofocus by tapping on a letter button from the left. And now let's move to the last one option, the white balance. Here we can manage the temperature of our picture, and it depends from the light we have in the area where we take a photo. So we can pick between the tungsten light, daylight, white fluorescent light, cloudy light, and when we tap to the last one button from the right here, we get access to extra slider, and here we can manage the white balance manually in Kelvin degrees. So by going to the left, on the slider we can make it more cold. By going to the right, we can make it more warm. So this is kind of balance between the cold and warm tones of our picture. And of course, when we go back to this view, we can easily go back also to auto white balance by tapping on a letter button from the left. And I want to show you here one extra thing. When we adjust all of these settings manually and want to go back to auto, we don't have to separately use all of these buttons. With each of these settings we can tap to this extra button from the left, and now it asks us to reset all these parameters to their default values. So okay, and we can start using this from the beginning. Here now let's move to this settings bar and tap to the second from the left button. Now we can pick the metering, the frame average, the spot, and also the center weighted. And when I tap on the center now like that, we get access to focusing and exposure compensation ring. We can separate these two parameters like that and pick the point when we want to have our focus and the exposure compensation measuring. So this is also a really cool thing here. And when we tap to this button from the left with I letter, we get access to some short information from the device about these pro features. I think this is really useful because you can translate this to your own language and learn from this. Now let's move back and let me use these parameters to take the picture. So let's leave the exposure compensation and start with ISO maybe here, the shutter speed here, and the focusing, and maybe the daylight white balance. To see the picture, let's move to the left to the button that follows us straight to the gallery. So this is how it looks like now, and I suggest you to making experiments with all of these settings and just have a good fun. Thanks for watching, subscribe our channel and leave the thumbs up.